Targeted airstrikes against the Islamic State in Syria are underway as we speak. The strikes carried out by the United States and 5 Arab allies began late Monday night and carried into Tuesday. But some of the airstrikes were against groups other than Islamic State. For more on that, we're joined by CCTV's Jim Spellman. Jim.
It's a complex mission so far. Let's go right to what we know at this moment, according to U.S. Defense Department officials. There were 14 strikes, meaning 14 target areas. They used 47 Tomahawk land attack missiles. That was the first wave. Then it was followed up with fighters, bombers, and drones, including the new F-22 fighter. That's the new state-of-the-art U.S. fighter that is seeing its first combat service right here. Let's take a look at the map. So we know that those Tomahawk missiles were launched from 2 ships, one here in the Persian Gulf, the other in the Red Sea. They launched towards cities in the north and east of Syria, including Raqqa. That's the unofficial capital of the Islamic State militants, where they have their headquarters, their command and control, and their financing. What were the targets? We know the strikes were going after command and control facilities, training compounds, storage facilities, and the group's finance center. According to the U.S. military, all of the munitions hit their targets, and the U.S. aircraft, as well as the coalition aircraft, made it out of Syrian airspace safely. And Asier, the Pentagon says this is really just the beginning. One thing that's very interesting is, did they go after any leaders? Now, at the Pentagon, they said no, they weren't targeting specific leaders, but a group called the Al-Nusra Front, an al-Qaeda-linked group not part of the Islamic State, announced just within the last hour or so that their leader was killed during these attacks. So I think it's going to take some more time before the full assessment, both from the coalition side and from people on the ground, before they can get an assessment of the damage done by this first wave.
So, Jim, what can you tell us about these strikes against a Khorasan group? I had never heard of this group until today. Who are they, and what do we know about the strikes against them?
In addition to these strikes, there were 8 strikes carried out against the Khorasan group west of Aleppo, Syria. Those strikes targeted training camps, explosives facilities, a communication center, as well as command and control elements for that group. They were carried out solely by the U.S. The other Arab states in the coalition did not participate. As you mentioned, this is a group we haven't heard much about before last week. According to the U.S. government, this group is made up of elite members of al-Qaeda and some other jihadi groups. They set up shop in Syria to take advantage of the flow of foreign fighters into the region. Here's the general who is coordinating this attack from the U.S. perspective.
We believe the Khorasan group was nearing the execution phase of an attack either in Europe or the homeland. We know that the Khorasan group has attempted to recruit Westerners to serve as operatives or to infiltrate back into their homelands. The Khorasan group is clearly not focused on either the Assad regime or the Syrian people. They are establishing roots in Syria in order to advance attacks against the West and the homeland.
And U.S. officials say that they needed to strike before this group could act, and they were close enough to be almost ready to go operational, as they say, with these plots. Asier?
Frightening. All right. Thank you so much, Jim Spellman.